All right. Hi, Dan Tokar here at the Willow Forge in Shepherdstown, West Virginia, with a continuation of the Blacksmith's Dictionary with tools you probably don't have in your shop. About 35 years ago, when I was set up in southwest Pennsylvania, old coal mining country, I went to an auction where they had a lot of equipment from a coal mine shop, blacksmithing equipment included, and I saw something I hadn't seen before. And my rule of thumb at the time was, if you don't have one, you should probably buy it. You might not find another one. And in 35 years since then, I have never seen another one for sale. I don't know that they were that rare, but it's not the sort of thing that a small shop would have. So unless you're in a coal mining area, you probably haven't seen one either. So anyway, here it is. I'm wearing gloves today because the shop's been cold, and this is a big, heavy piece that is nice and cold. You can see it has a heavy screw on the top with a pair of cross holes. The bottom here has a swivel so that what you're pushing on doesn't spin around when you're tightening or loosening the screw. The arms, the stock on this thing, this is inch thick by 4 inches wide steel. It's not cast iron. And you see the shape at the end of the arm is this little cradle, this little catch. You say, what in the world is that for? Well, in the coal mines, they laid track to run the mine cars on. And probably 95% of the track was bent into standard shapes. So if they had to make a curve or a crossover or an intersection, it wasn't that hard for the crews to set that up down in the mine. But every now and then, the surveyors or the shape of the mine was a little off, and you had to modify things. The track had to actually fit inside the mine. And this might be 2 miles down from the portal, from the opening in the mine, a couple of 100 feet down, and 2 miles from where you started. So you can't just run back and forth to the shop to fit something. You have to be able to tweak that rail, that railroad rail, that trolley rail, in place. So that's what this device is for. I ran into an old miner many years ago who laughed when he saw this and said he was part of the track crew in a mine, and that they used to call this a crab because you could make things go sideways with it. So anyway, I'm going to put this down and I can show you. I have a short piece of the kind of rail I'm talking about. This is the size of rail that they would have had in a coal mine. It's also the size that was used in a lot of factories and light trolleys that ran between towns. So the same sort of tool would have been used by a track crew for somebody running a small trolley. So what you do is you set the, I'm going to set this up sideways just because you need to see how it goes together. The arms catch on the lower flange, and then you put that nose, that spindle, on the lower flange. And you can tighten it up by hand. Take up the slack. And then you would need a, I'm going to let that set. You would need a bar, and when you tighten that down, you would bend the rail. And if you wanted a nice smooth curve, you'd walk this thing along, and about every 6 inches, you'd tweak it the same amount, the same percentage of a turn, so you'd get a nice even curve. If you needed a tighter curve, you'd wind it up, or you might go over it 2 or 3 times to make it fit. So this is a track bending tool. I have used it a couple of times to bend other heavy things. I've successfully used it to bend I-beams and H-beams a little bit when I needed them to have a slight off kilter, slightly off straight. I wouldn't recommend this as a light exercise though. It does take a fair amount of work to get it to work. Anyway, I thought you'd enjoy seeing that because some of the old coal mining shops, I know they've got museums now, but I've not even seen one of these in a coal mine museum. Anyway, bye.